Hello and welcome to 5-Minute Math. Today we are looking at the Algebra 1 concept of graphing exponential functions. This is standard A.9D in the great state of Texas, and we are using item number 53 of the 2021 released STAAR test. If you haven't done so already, please go ahead and take a moment to pause the video, work this problem out on your own, unpause it, and we will look at our answers together. So, which graph best represents, and then we've got y equals 5 times 1/3 to the x. This is an exponential function. Hopefully we recognize that by the way these graphs look. There's a lot that we can tell about this from just the way that this equation is constructed. So let's start with examining the terms in the standard form. All right, so our standard form of this is going to be y equals a times b to the x. And we actually know quite a few things about this because the a and the b. So what is the a term? Well, the a term can be multiple things. So when we're dealing with investment, compound interest, how much money it grows over time, it's the principal. It's the initial starting amount. And that's another way to think of this is if we're dealing with population growth or bacterial growth or something is just growing or decaying, right, after every week or every month or so on and so forth, there's always going to be an initial amount, how much you're starting with. That's that a term. Another way to think about this is that this a term is going to be your y-intercept. So your y-intercept is going to be where this function crosses the y-axis when x equals 0. Now we know that simply because the way this standard form is constructed. Let's plug 0 in and see what happens. So y equals a times b, but I'm going to substitute in my 0 for the x. So now it's a times b to the 0. Now we can simplify anything to the 0 power is simply 1. So it's a times 1, and anything times 1 is itself. That's the identity property of multiplication. So when x equals 0, y equals a. That's how we know that this a is our y-intercept. So we can stop right there. We can take a look at our four graphs here. This is the y-intercept, 5. So we can visually see, look at a. A's got a y-intercept of 1, so that's not happening. 5 for b looks good. 1 for c. Nope, not happening. And then 5 for D. Okay, so we are eliminating 2 already, A and C, simply because they have the wrong y-intercept. Now, we can find the correct answer without even plugging it into a calculator. Now, if you want to plug it into a graphing calculator, go for it. But if we take a look at our B term, and we know what the B term means, we can find the correct answer. So the B term is your rate. Right, so it's the rate that's going to be exponentially, multiplied by whatever that exponent happens to be. And there's two different types of rates that we're dealing with. So one rate is a growth rate, and that is when the b term is greater than 1. So if you're looking at it on a graph, right, it's going to kind of start small here. Asymptote is the x-axis typically, and then it kind of grows and then boom, goes up like that. This is not that, because take a look at our b term. It's 1/3, which means it's smaller than 1, and anytime you get smaller than 1, it's a decay rate. That means it's getting smaller. Let me show you what that looks like over here. So it kind of starts big, and then as it goes over time, it's going to decay and asymptote onto that x-axis. That's the decay rate, which is what we have. Take a look at B. That's a growth rate because it's moving up. It's increasing from left to right, which means we don't need that. This is the only one that has a decay rate and the y-intercept at the correct spot. So our answer here is going to have to be D.